A lot of folks call me and they ask me, I want a Medicare Supplement plan, but I don't know which one to choose. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the same simple process that I use when someone sits down across from me and asks that question. We'll look at three very popular plans in 2025, the Plan G, the Plan N, and the lesser known option, the High-Deductible Plan G, and we'll compare them side by side. What do they cost? What do they cover? And how do they really work in the real world? By the end, you'll have a clear picture of which one makes the most sense for you. Most people, once they understand the options, they really only consider between the Plan G and the Plan N, and then I'm going to throw in the High-Deductible Plan G, which we'll call the HDG for short. So look at this chart here. The Plan G, it checks most of the boxes in this chart. It covers just about everything except for a small annual deductible, which is $257 in 2025. Once you have met that deductible, you don't pay a penny more for your covered services. Now the Plan N is very simple, but you'll have a few more out-of-pocket costs. You have the same $257 deductible. You also have small copays when you see the doctor or you go for a visit to the ER. And you have no protection from what is called excess charges, which I'm going to explain a bit later. And then there's the High-Deductible Plan G, and this one works differently. So you have your $257 deductible for the Part B, and then you also have a $2,870 deductible for your Plan G. Once you hit that number, it then covers the rest. So it's really a trade-off here. You'll save a lot of money up front in premiums, but you'll have to be ready if something unexpected comes up later. The High-Deductible G has a very low monthly premium, but it has higher risk if you need care. Now that you know what the plan covers, the next question is, how much will they actually cost? So let me show you what the plan might actually cost in real life. Here is a side-by-side comparison. Now let's start with the premiums. These numbers are based on quotes from Dallas, Texas, and prices are always different based on where you live and what your location is. But the relationship in terms of how much one plan is more expensive than another is pretty consistent in most states across the country. Plan G costs the most. In this example, it's $124 a month or just under $1,500 a year. Now, I need to also say these quotes are based on someone at the age of 65. Typically, the price increases for age. So if you're 85, it's going to be a lot more expensive than this. So just keep in mind, we're looking at Dallas, Texas. We're looking at people who are 65 years old. So a Plan G in this area costs $124 a month or just about $1,500 a year. A Plan N is a little more affordable, about $95 a month or $1,140 a year, and the High-Deductible G is the least expensive. There's one at just $35 a month or $420 for the year. Now, these I'm quoting the least expensive plan in the area. It doesn't mean it's the plan that you should join, because sometimes the least expensive plan is coming from an insurance company that's trying to get people to join right now, but they might raise prices later on. You don't always want to join the least expensive one, but for this example, I'm going to give you the example of the least expensive plan. Now these are just premiums. This is what you pay no matter what, even if you don't see a doctor one time. So now let's talk about what happens if you need care. What happens if you're admitted to the hospital, for example? With the Plan G or the Plan N, you pay nothing, not a dime, even if you stay in the hospital for weeks. No copays, no deductibles, it's fully covered. But with the High-Deductible Plan G, things work differently. You're responsible for all of the costs of your $257 Part B deductible and $2,870 Plan G high deductible in 2025. So if you're hospitalized, here's what it looks like. You'd pay the Part A deductible, $1,632, before your coverage kicks in. From days 61 to 90, Medicare charges $419 a day, and that adds up fast. So if you're in the hospital for a long time, it could get more expensive. But the good news is that once you hit $2,870 out of pocket, for Part A, that is, then your plan steps in and covers the rest. If there is some Part B charges, then you'll have the additional $257 Part B deductible. Once those are met, your plan covers everything else for the rest of the year, except for the things that are covered under your Medicare Part D plan, which is your drug plan. So the things at the pharmacy, separate category, you still have to pay for those, but for doctor's visits, hospital visits, surgery, everything like that, you're now covered 100% for the rest of the year. That's the trade-off. Lower premiums, higher upfront risk. So now let's talk about visits to the doctor or to an emergency room. These fall under Medicare Part B. With all three plans, you'll first pay your $257 deductible for Part B. With a Plan G, that's the only cost. After that, no copays, no coinsurance, you're done for the year. It's going to cover everything else at the hospital, at the doctor's office, etc. Now, a Plan N has small copays. It's $20 to visit the doctor and $50 for an ER visit if you're not admitted. Now, there's no cap on these, so if you'd visit the doctor's office often, then those charges can really add up. You're going to have them over and over. Now let's talk about the high-deductible G. You're responsible for 20% of the cost of each visit, again, until you've paid your $2,870 deductible. So you have your $257 Part B deductible, then you have $2,870 out of pocket, and then you're fully covered for the rest of the year. Okay, the next thing we need to watch out for is excess charges. This is when a doctor is allowed to charge you more than what Medicare approves, and they can charge up to 15% more. Now, it's rare, but it does happen. Now, Plan G will cover 100% of these excess charges. You won't have to pay a thing. A Plan N does not cover them at all. If you see a doctor who charges extra, you'll have to pay that full amount out of pocket. A high-deductible G is similar to a Plan G, except you'll have to pay the excess charges until you hit the $2,870 deductible, and then the plan will take over from there. So while excess charges aren't super common, they're worth considering, especially if you want predictable costs. Plan N is never going to cover them. A Plan G always covers them. A high-deductible G will cover them after you hit your deductible. Now let's recap the least and the most that you could spend in a year in these examples that we've talked about earlier. So if you stay healthy and you don't use the plan, then with a Plan G, the most you're going to have to pay is your premium, $1,488. A Plan N is the premium, $1,140, and the Plan G high deductible is the premium, $420. So if you never use your plan, you're going to save a lot of money with the high deductible G. But the reason you have this insurance, the reason you have Medicare is because you're going to use your plan, right? You're going to see the doctor, and at some point in your life, there are going to be health concerns or things that happen, right? So let's talk about the maximum scenario. If you use a lot of healthcare and you hit all your deductibles, what's the most that you're going to spend? So in the worst case scenario, with the Plan G, you have $1,745 will be your maximum. It's your premium plus the $257 deductible. That's it. Remember, Part D, pharmacy, that's separate. With the Plan N, your worst case scenario is $1,397 plus any ER visits, any doctor's visits, plus any excess charges. So this one, I can't tell you exactly what it would be because your doctor's visits, your ER visits, and your excess charges are additional. So I could say it's $1,397 plus, and I don't know what those pluses are. And with a high deductible Plan G, your worst case scenario is $3,547. This is your premium plus your Part B deductible, $257, plus your Plan G deductible, $2,870. So you can see the high deductible G has the highest worst case scenario, but if you don't see the doctor very often, it has the lowest out-of-pocket costs. So the risk with the Plan N and the high deductible G is the variability. You don't know exactly what you're going to pay. It depends on how often you see the doctor and what kind of providers you're going to use. So at the end of the day, it depends on what matters to you. Is it predictability? Is it savings? If you want peace of mind, fixed costs, no surprises, then the Plan G is the most straightforward. If you're okay with some small copays and the possibility of extra charges, but you want to save on the premiums and have a lower monthly cost because you think you're not going to use it too much, well, the Plan N might be the better fit for you. If you're in good health and you want to keep money in your pocket each month, but you're okay spending more when you need it, when the need arises, then the high deductible G is worth taking a closer look at. It all comes down to your health, your budget, and your comfort level with risk. No matter which one sounds right for you, it's always worth checking what's available in your area because prices are different. They're more different than folks realize. If you live in New York, they're going to be very expensive because they have different rules in New York and they can't rate you for age. So someone who is 65 years old is paying the price of someone who is 95 years old. If you live in other states, then age is a big factor, right? So the prices change based on where you live. And if you want someone to talk to and you want to understand how this all works, then give us a ring. We'll help you compare the plans side by side and see which one fits for you and tell you the costs in your area. And lastly, if you're still trying to decide between a Medicare Supplement and a Medicare Advantage plan, then I put together a full comparison video that walks you through both, and you can watch it right here.